Of course, Dr. Powell was only president for 7 or 8 years.
That's correct.
And actually didn't live long after he left the presidency. But Hanley Funderburk came in, and again, a very different kind of president. You worked very closely with him. How did that administration begin? Can you recall?
Well, as you mentioned, it was their management style was somewhat different. It was as exciting working for Dr. Funderburk as it was working for J.C. J.C. had started the development effort for the university because he realized that we weren't going to get the funds that we needed from Frankfurt, and we had to go a different direction. But he
thought of that soon.
Yes,
huh? Yeah.
And it was really just in its truly infancy when Dr. Funderburk came onto campus. And he took that effort and hit the ground running with it. And what our development effort is today is largely, I think, due to the attention that Dr. Funderburk gave it. And he worked very diligently at that, and I think did a masterful job in that regard.
So what else do you remember from the Funderburk era? I remember you told me one time that he could squeeze the juice out of a penny or something like that. A very strong manager.
Well, some humorous things, if I may.
Absolutely.
I recall that's when we first got desktop computers when Dr. Funderburk was president. I think I'm right about that. And perhaps right before J.C. retired. And Dr. Funderburk was never an IT fan. And still isn't, I don't think, to this day. But anyway, he referred to a computer as a passing fad. He just thought, we've often laughed about that. And it would boggle his mind today, I'm sure, at what he would see, but he was not a fan of that. And that was when fax machines were coming into their own. And
I know he didn't like those.
He did not like a fax machine. I think we were the only campus in Kentucky that had one fax machine, and it was in the printing office at the time.
Yeah.
And we had to go down to that office to send a fax or receive a fax, even if it were...
Seems like you went to the mailroom.
We did, that's correct.
Right.
Even if it were confidential, you still had to go down there to get that fax. And it was during a period of time when they were really needed on campus. So we finally figured out that if we called a fax machine a printer, that
you could order
that
one.
we could order a fax machine, but we didn't call them a fax machine, we called them a printer. And later, when I became director of the grants office on campus, I would get calls from DC, and they were amazed that I didn't have a fax machine in my office. The federal offices in Washington would want to fax me.
Well, sure. Yeah.
And they wanted immediate answer.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my office was not that close to the administration building, and we would have to walk to that building to receive a fax. So he
Probably a pretty long fax line.
Yes,
yeah.
it was. That's exactly right. But anyway, we found a way to circumvent that. But he did give a lot of attention to, and of course the regional campuses, Corbin, Danville campuses at the time, he was very, very instrumental in getting all those campuses established. And certainly we all know what they mean to EKU today.
Absolutely.
He liked to visit all the communities. He went to all the alumni chapter meetings that he could possibly attend. He worked very closely with the student regents, and certainly very closely with our Board of Regents. And as I recall, I think the board retreats may have started in earnest under Dr. Funderburk.
Tell us a little bit about the moving from the president's office to grants and contracts. Was that something that you really wanted to do?
I did. I had gotten my master's in public administration. Of course, I'm sure you would want me to say that, and you were there at the time, actually on my committee, as I recall.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I did not want to go through another presidential search. And I told Dr. Funderburk when he came to there as president that I didn't intend to go through another one, and that I intended to seek an administrative position on campus. And I think he was somewhat dismayed and upset by that because he thought working for him was the ultimate.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was wonderful. It was certainly no reflection on him, but there was nowhere I could go. And I recall when we were discussing it at the time, he said, well, where would you like to go? And I said, well, unless you think I could be president, there is no place for me to go. So Jack Tracy, who was the director at the time, retired, and I applied for that position and was honored to get that position, and held that position for about 8 or 9 years, and worked very closely with faculty, as you could imagine. And it was a great experience there too.
Can you characterize the contribution John Rowlett made to Eastern Kentucky University over the years?
You know, I don't think I have enough time here to
Yeah.
give him the credit he deserves. I really don't.
He really molded the kind of university
did.
this was.
He did. John was a good soldier. I guess I'm using the term for all these folks, but he always knew the direction that something needed to go. And I think most folks who are watching this, and even you, would often comment about sending things to John, and for some reason they would stay on his desk and they couldn't understand why.
Called it the black hole.
The black hole, yes, that's what it was referred to. Why something would stay on his desk for so long, and they couldn't get an answer. And I would often get called by some of those folks, and I would say, well, I think he's given you an answer.